History is filled with both triumphs and tragedies, and there are certainly many dark and disturbing moments that have occurred throughout human history. Here are 20 historical facts that are disturbing and tragic. The Holocaust, 1933 to 1945. The Holocaust, orchestrated by the Nazi regime, led to the systematic extermination of approximately 6 million Jews, as well as millions of others, including Romani people, disabled individuals, and others deemed undesirable by the Nazis. The transatlantic slave trade, 16th–19th centuries. Millions of Africans were forcibly taken from their homelands and sold into slavery, enduring unimaginable suffering, brutality, and loss of life during the Middle Passage and their lives in slavery. The rape of Nanking, 1937 to 1938. The Japanese Imperial Army brutally raped, tortured, and killed hundreds of thousands of Chinese civilians during the occupation of Nanking, now Nanjing, China. The Armenian Genocide, 1915–19–3. The Ottoman Empire systematically exterminated over 1 million Armenians through forced labor, death marches, and mass killings during World War I and its aftermath. Stalin's purges and Great Famine, 1930s–1940s. Joseph Stalin's policies and purges resulted in the deaths of millions of Soviet citizens, including those who were executed, sent to gulags, or died in the Great Famine caused by forced collectivization. Atomic bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, 1945. The United States dropped atomic bombs on the Japanese cities of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, resulting in the deaths of tens of thousands of people and the long-term effects of radiation. The Trail of Tears, 1838 to 1839. The forced relocation of Native American tribes, including the Cherokee, resulted in the death of thousands due to exposure, disease, and starvation during their forced march to lands in present-day Oklahoma. The Spanish Inquisition, 1–4–7–8–1834. The Inquisition led to the torture and execution of thousands of people accused of heresy or witchcraft, often under brutal and unfounded charges. The Rwandan Genocide, 1994. An estimated 800,000 Tutsis and moderate Hutus were killed in a brutal ethnic conflict within a span of 100 days. Unit 731, 1930s to 1945. The Japanese Biological and Chemical Warfare Research Unit conducted horrific experiments on prisoners, including vivisections and testing of biological agents. The Atlantic slave trade's Middle Passage, 16th–19th centuries. Enslaved Africans were packed into ships in inhumane conditions, with many dying from disease, starvation, or brutal treatment during the grueling journey. The Killing Fields of Cambodia, 1975–1979. The Khmer Rouge regime, under Pol Pot, executed an estimated 2 million Cambodians through torture, forced labor, and mass executions. The European witch trials, 16th–18th centuries. Thousands of men and women were accused of witchcraft, subjected to trials, and executed in a wave of hysteria and paranoia. The Holodomor, 1993–1933. A man-made famine orchestrated by the Soviet Union under Joseph Stalin, which resulted in the deaths of millions of Ukrainians due to forced collectivization and grain confiscation. The slave auctions in the Americas, 16th–19th centuries. Enslaved individuals were sold in public auctions, often separated from their families and treated as property with no rights or freedoms. The Tuskegee Syphilis Study, 1932–1972. The U.S. Public Health Service conducted an unethical study on African American men in Tuskegee, Alabama, allowing them to suffer and die from untreated syphilis. The Apartheid Era, 1948–1994. Institutionalized racial segregation and discrimination in South Africa resulted in the oppression and marginalization of the majority black population. The Herero and Nama Genocide, 1904–1908. The German Empire brutally suppressed and exterminated the Herero and Nama people in present-day Namibia, resulting in tens of thousands of deaths. The Bhopal gas tragedy, 1984. A gas leak at the Union Carbide pesticide plant in Bhopal, India, resulted in thousands of immediate deaths and a long-term toll of illness and suffering. The Srebrenica massacre, 1995. During the Bosnian War, Bosnian Serb forces killed approximately 8,000 Bosnian Muslim men and boys in and around the town of Srebrenica, Bosnia and Herzegovina, in a horrifying act of genocide. These events remind us of the importance of learning from history and working towards a more just and peaceful world.